Welcome to the Soulful CXO. I'm your host, Dr. Rebecca Wynn, and we are pleased to have with us today, Debra Benton. Debra is globally recognized executive coach, best-selling business author, popular conference keynote speaker on leadership and executive effectiveness. She helps people take ownership of their potential by making positive, lasting changes in their attitudes, actions, interactions, both for themselves and organization. Her client list is a who's who of who's who: Microsoft, Citicorp, Kellogg's, Campbell's, GE, AT&T, American Express, and that's just to name a few. She is absolutely the speed dial executive coach you need to have. She's on my speed dial. Debra, welcome to the show.
Oh my gosh. I wish my mother was alive to hear that introduction. She is sending good vibes from heaven to you right now.
Oh, thanks, Debra. Can you share with the leaders out there on how you got into this crazy business?
We didn't have a name for it. We were just called consultants. The start was I was fired from a pretty significant job at a young age after thinking I was kind of a hotshot, doing good work, getting performance appraisals that, showed I was getting things done on time, on budget. And my boss called me into his office and very uncomfortably, nervously, flat out fired me. And of course, I asked, well, why? He says, not that you're lazy or ignorant or dishonest, but you just don't deal well with the good old boys and the chemistry's not right. And that was the reason I was fired. This intangible. So like a lot of people who have a setback and spent the rest of my career, I suppose, finding out what this is. I did a lot of research after that. I lucked into a consulting company where I could spend some time asking this question. When two people start out with comparable ambition, attractiveness, height, intelligence, why would they start out here? Over time, one makes it to here and one makes it to here. And this differentiating factor is what I've made my career out of, teaching that to smart people. It's a missing link.
It's interesting when I read your work. Your work is really good about being proactive, giving great examples of other leaders to model after, what works, what doesn't work, what that looks like, and how you should put things into practice. And when I read a lot of other people's materials, to me, they seem to kind of like mix up what's executive presence versus what's leadership presence or leadership styles. Can you explain the difference between the two?
I think you need executive presence to get people to want to follow you and emulate you so that you can be a leader. Okay, just being the smartest person in the company or on the block or whatever, even a big title doesn't make you a leader unless people also feel that you as an individual are memorable and impressive, credible, genuine, trusted, liked, confident yourself, comfortable in your own skin. That's who people want to be like.
One of the things you talk about, what kind of leader are you? You're like, I don't kind of leader. And you go through several different examples, like what's a visionary, what's a coach, what's an agile, what's a very strong, my way or the highway. Can you explain a couple of those, give us a couple of examples of those different types of leaders and what that kind of looks like?
Well, leadership, if you Google books on leadership, there's probably 50,000 titles. So what is leadership? The leadership required in an organization varies. If you are a startup organization, you need visionary to see what's going to happen, potentially what could happen, whether you like Zuckerberg or Elon Musk. They were visionary leaders. When an institution is going well, your leadership style might be to make sure there's always vision in the back there. You always have to be looking forward, but you also have to make sure the machine is running now. So the leadership that might be required would be one who really can get dysfunctional sometimes or different thinking, diverse people on the same boat, on the same train, or whatever the expression is. So leadership changes, the need of it changes based on the stage and even age of a company or a team. There's leadership it's almost hostile. It's my way or the highway. And that works for a while. I remember one company, I won't mention the name, but the CEO routinely would set up a meeting for 2 p.m., show up at 3 p.m., everybody's waiting for an hour, and he'd walk in and say, okay, all the stupid people out. He's a well-known person. I asked my client who worked for him, why did you put up with it? He said he made us a lot of money. Leadership isn't always good. Many CEOs, because of their title, will tell you there's an awful lot of jerk CEOs out there. So there's business leadership, but then there's personal life leadership too. And I'm most interested in that because that helps in your life, but it carries over into business too and helps you deal with the style of leadership needed. But the personal leadership of being someone who is considerate, maintains others' self-esteem, accepts others' character, motive, and ability without judgment, who expects acceptance for themselves, that's the kind of personal leadership that is strongest and overriding all styles in all times and all needs. Right now, everybody listening, you're the CEO of your life.
When you talk about being authentic and trying to find out who you are as a person, I think that's really key. One of the things that you really address really well in all your books is that imposter system is not that you're being an imposter, is that you're not really being able to be your authentic self and how to recognize that sooner than later. Can you walk us through a little bit of that? Because sometimes you're really just in bad situations that maybe you need to spin yourself out of.
That's a very good question and a deeper issue on imposter syndrome. Most everybody feels it. Politicians, business leaders, community leaders, most people feel it. It stems from our own insecurities, which we all have. Even the most confident person has insecurities. They're just better at camouflaging their insecurities. Okay, that's the key, better at camouflaging. So where you get into trouble is, there's an expression, confidence, fake it till you make it. Which is true. You have to act it. So people treat you like you are so that you do better. But anything good taken to the extreme becomes bad. So if you fake it so much, then you have that imposter where you feel like, sheesh, somebody's going to find me out. Every day, someone's going to find me out. I tell people the best leader that you can be is the kind you would like to have. The kind you would follow. What is the kind of person you admire, respect, follow, believe, trust? What does that person do? Okay, I want to make sure I do that for others. And you have to do it before you're around it. There's many people who are in positions of power and authority and title who do not do this. So do not learn from that person, except learn what not to be. It boils down to you taking control. If you have an imposter feeling, the word you can choose not to feel an imposter. I choose to come across as authentic. How do I do that? I look at others who are and I try to mirror them, mimic or model, I guess.
How can you try and balance and keep your internal peace so you can go ahead and make those great connections? And if you do have a misstep, for people to forgive you and not, you messed up once you're out. I think that's wrong for companies to do that, but a lot of companies do that. How do you coach people around trying to balance that?
There are expectations on both sides. Employees are much more demanding of the culture of the manager, of the company that they're working for, much more demanding than they've ever been in history. What they want to see is how you think, and not just your knowledge base, but how you think, how you make decisions. And the good way to show them is to ask them questions on how they think and how they make decisions. Too many times when you go in, you want to show off what you know and you want to be really good and smart right away. And what's really good and really smart is when you try to make others feel good around you. And a good way is to ask questions about what's their background on this? What caused them to join this company? What have they learned since? What would they do differently the next time? What do they want to achieve in their job? My manager, what do you want me to achieve? What do you want? What's our goal in our team? What don't we want to mess with? What do we want to have stay the same? What do we want to maintain? And what do we want to avoid? What don't we want to happen? What do we need to do to make sure we don't have something that we don't want? The point is questions, questions, questions. 80% of the conversation should you be asking questions. Now, I should caution one thing. Although I say you can look at the profiles of people you'd be working with, etc., the higher you go up, the higher the chance someone wrote that profile, meaning a professional profile writer. So don't take any of it like it's 100% accurate. It's the spin that they want. How do you get through that? By asking questions. And if someone says, why do you ask so many questions? You say, well, why shouldn't I?
I tell people also thing I do is I look to see if there's times like this that they're speaking. A lot of times you'll hear a little bit, those little nuggets from their heart. Our time has flown by so quickly.
Well, maybe I didn't explain something on this conversation and they want to ask me a question. I will always respond to people. DebraBenton.com will get you to me.
Thanks, Debra. Thank you so much for being on the show.
You're kind and beautiful and smart, and I'm glad we made this connection.